Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at a story proposal that mashes up like two of the biggest sci-fi universes,
Ooh,
Back
yeah,
to the Future,
sounds fun.
Sliders. So we're talking obviously time travel and parallel universes.
Wow. A lot to unpack there.
Right. So like always, our mission is, to dive deep, see if this story idea really has legs.
See if it holds up. Yeah,
Could this be a hit?
definitely. I'm excited to see what they came up with. I mean, the potential here is huge, right? We're not just talking about like tweaking the past or seeing slightly different versions of our present. This story, it goes deep into like a full-on web of timelines, each one with its own set of rules, consequences, everything.
Yeah, totally. So the story kicks off in the year 3000 AD. We meet Alana, who is like this brilliant time traveler, and she stumbles upon remnants of Quinn Mallory's, early sliding technology. If you remember from Sliders, that's the tech that lets them hop between parallel
Right, yeah,
universes.
right.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Quinn was actually initially trying to achieve time travel, but instead, he ended up accidentally opening up like this doorway to the multiverse. And Alana, being like this prodigy, she decides to take Quinn's device and refine it, basically make it even better. Her goal is to create something that can handle both time travel and dimension hopping.
Ambitious. I like it.
Yeah.
But you always got to worry about those unintended consequences, like messing with forces you don't fully understand.
Right, exactly. And that's what happens. So Alana's experiments, they accidentally create a link to the Back to the Future timeline. But not just any Back to the Future timeline. The one where Doc and Marty's adventures, all that time traveling, has created these things called temporal ripples.
Right.
Basically like disturbances in the fabric of time.
Oh, so mixing Alana's experiments with those ripples, that could be bad news, right? For like everything.
Yeah, it's like a recipe for total multiversal meltdown. So to stop it, Alana has to put together a team, and she decides to call on Quinn Mallory himself, but a future version of him, a seasoned slider. And then, of course, who else? Marty McFly and Doc Brown.
Wow, what a team up. That's going to be a wild ride.
Can you imagine those personalities together?
Oh, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
But good chaos, hopefully. You've got Marty, always impulsive. Doc, super methodical scientific mind. Then Quinn, a total multiverse veteran, probably butting heads with Alana and her futuristic knowledge.
Yeah, it's like a recipe for disaster A&D for brilliance. But then the story throws in this massive twist. It introduces the idea of a prime timeline, where Quinn actually did invent both time travel and A&D sliding decades earlier than anyone else.
Oh, so there's like a super Quinn out there somewhere,
Yeah.
master of time and dimensions.
Exactly. And this prime Quinn, he might be the only one who can fix Alana's tech and, like, restore balance.
That's a cool concept. But, it makes you think, what happens when these characters meet their alternate selves? Like, could you imagine Marty McFly coming face to face with a version of himself who's like a famous scientist?
Oh, that'd be wild. So before we get too deep into those what ifs, let's break down how Alana's technology actually works. Like, what makes it different from Quinn's original sliding device?
Right. We got to understand the mechanics to really grasp the danger here. So Quinn's tech, it used wormholes, right? The tunnels through reality, connecting different universes. It was all about navigating this, like, cosmic map, jumping from point to point.
Okay, I'm following.
Alana's tech, way more advanced. She figured out how to, like, manipulate the flow of time itself. So not only can she travel between universes, but she can pinpoint specific moments in time within those universes, a level of precision Quinn never even dreamed of.
Okay, so we're talking a high-precision time and dimension hopping machine. Got it. But if it's so advanced, how did it connect to the Back to the Future timeline? Was that on purpose, or was it, like, a total accident?
That's a great question, and the story does explore that, my theory. Those temporal ripples caused by Doc and Marty, they created, like, a beacon, a weak spot in reality that Alana's device just, like, latched onto.
Like accidentally tuning into a radio station from another dimension.
Exactly, and because it was unintentional, that's what makes it even more dangerous. Like, she doesn't even fully understand the forces she's unleashed.
So we're talking a ticking time bomb, basically, especially with those temporal ripples thrown into the mix. Speaking of which, can you, like, break down those ripples for us? Are we just talking the classic Back to the Future paradoxes, or is there something more to it?
Oh, it's definitely tied to those paradoxes, but this story takes it way further. These temporal ripples, they're like shockwaves radiating out from every point in time where a change has happened.
Okay, so every time Marty stops his parents from meeting, or Doc changes the past, bam, new ripple.
Exactly. Imagine dropping a pebble into a pond. Ripples spread, and as they travel, they intersect, create interference patterns. But in the multiverse, those ripples could make entire timelines branch off, merge, even collapse on themselves.
Whoa, that's heavy stuff. And now Alana's messing around, adding even more chaos to the mix.
Exactly. It's a recipe for multiversal disaster.
Right. And that's where our team of unlikely heroes has to step in.
They've got to figure out how to stop those ripples. A&D repair the damage that's already been done.
The question is, can they work together before everything unravels?
Right. Can they even get along long enough to figure this out?
And then on top of all that, there's the whole thing about characters encountering their alternate selves, like all those questions about identity, the nature of reality.
Definitely some mind-bending stuff.
Let's dive into that next.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like one person existing in all these different forms, across different realities, each one shaped by whatever happened in their timeline.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, like, what makes us us, you know? Is it just the things we go through, the choices we make? Or is there, like, some fundamental part of us that's always there, no matter what?
That's the big question, right? And this story could explore that in such a cool way.
Right.
Imagine Marty McFly, who's kind of a slacker in his own time, right? But he meets a version of himself that never went back to 1955 and ended up becoming like a brilliant scientist, maybe even rivals Doc Brown.
Whoa, that's trippy. Like looking in a mirror and seeing a total stranger, same face, but a completely different life. It would make you question everything, right?
Totally. Like, what if you had made different choices? Could you have been someone else entirely? It goes even deeper, like ethically, you know. Imagine running into a version of yourself who made choices they regret, choices that led to bad stuff, suffering.
Oh, man.
Would you try to step in, change things?
That's heavy. You'd have to think about free will, the butterfly effect, all that. If you change even one tiny thing, who knows what could happen?
Exactly. This story could really get into those consequences and make it exciting and thought-provoking. Like, what if by trying to help your other self, you accidentally make things way worse?
Yikes. Talk about high stakes, not just for the characters, but for, like, entire timelines.
Yeah.
Like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Totally. It shows how complex time travel and the multiverse can be. It's not all fun and games. It's about dealing with the responsibility that comes with messing with reality itself.
No pressure, right. And let's not forget, like, the emotional impact of all this. Imagine Quinn Mallory meeting the prime timeline version of himself, the one who achieved everything. How would that make him feel?
Oh, definitely mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Admiration, jealousy, maybe even a sense of loss, you know, like a chance to see a path you could have taken but didn't.
It's like the ultimate what if, right?
Exactly. It's about exploring the full spectrum of human emotions in the face of something extraordinary.
Speaking of extraordinary, you know, this story is blending two huge sci-fi franchises, Back to the Future and Sliders, each with their own massive fan bases. What do you think about that? Like, how could this crossover appeal to both groups?
It's such a smart move. You've got the nostalgia of Back to the Future, the iconic characters, those quotable lines, the excitement of time travel. Then you add in the Sliders element, the whole parallel universe thing, which just explodes the possibilities, the challenge.
Yeah, it's like the best of both worlds. You get the familiar time travel stuff, but then you add in the whole what if of alternate realities and even alternate versions of ourselves.
And the scenarios you could come up with. Imagine Doc Brown and Quinn Mallory geeking out over their tech, trying to figure out how time travel and dimension hopping fit together.
Oh, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Doc Brown scribbling equations on his chalkboard, Quinn trying to explain what it feels like to go through a wormhole.
Two totally different approaches to understanding the universe.
And then there's Marty McFly. Can you imagine his reaction to all this? He's used to time travel, but infinite parallel universes. That might just break his brain.
He'd probably be asking if there's a universe where everyone wears self-lacing Nikes.
Of course he would. But let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the different ways they're thinking about telling this story. Written stories, audio dramas, and animated shorts. What are your thoughts on those formats? How could they shape the story, the experience for the audience?
Well, each one brings something different to the table, you know? Like with written stories, you can really dig deep into the characters' thoughts and feelings. You experience those dilemmas firsthand, get inside their heads.
Yeah, like reading their diaries as they journey through all this crazy stuff.
Exactly. Then there's audio dramas, which are awesome for creating a really immersive experience. Imagine hearing Christopher Lloyd's voice as Doc Brown, Michael J. Fox as Marty Land, and a whole new cast bringing the Sliders characters to life.
Oh man, the nostalgia would be off the charts, and you could do so much with the sound design, really make you feel like you're traveling through time and dimensions.
Totally. The DeLorean's time circuits, the whoosh of a wormhole opening,
Right?
voices echoing from different timelines. It would be wild.
And then there's animation. Like, that would be amazing for bringing those fantastical elements to life visually. You could show those alternate realities, anything from futuristic cities to prehistoric landscapes.
Oh, and the action sequences. The DeLorean flying through time, characters jumping between dimensions, epic battles against, like, time monsters or
A
whatever.
comic book come to life, right?
Exactly. I think each format could focus on a different part of the story. Written stories for the internal struggles, audio for the sound experience, and animation for the visuals.
So it's like having multiple ways to experience this whole multiverse, each one adding another layer.
Right. And it shows how versatile this concept is. It's not just one story. It's like a whole universe of possibilities.
Speaking of universes of possibilities, we can't forget how this kind of story could get people talking, inspire new ideas. I mean, that's what good sci-fi does, right? Gets you thinking about the big questions, the what-ifs, and what our choices really mean.
It's wild to think how this story could be like a starting point for bigger conversations about time travel, parallel universes, all the choices we make in life.
Yeah, like a fun way to get people thinking about these complex ideas. I mean, sci-fi is often like a mirror, you know? It shows us our hopes and fears about the future.
Totally.
And in this case, it's like a mirror reflecting infinite possibilities, both awesome and scary. It makes you ask, like, do we even have the right to mess with reality, even if we think we're doing the right thing?
It's a big question, and it goes beyond just sci-fi, right? It's about ethics, what's right and wrong. Like, if we could change the past, explore other realities, where do we draw the line?
Right, it's a slippery slope. And this story, it could really make us face those tough questions in a way that's both smart and emotional.
It's not just about the science. It's about how it affects us as people. How would these experiences change us? Would we come out of it, like, more amazed by the universe? Or more aware of our own limits?
Maybe both. It's like that Carl Sagan quote, you know, somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. But here, it's not just one thing, it's a whole multiverse of incredible things.
And somewhere in that multiverse, there might be versions of ourselves we can't even imagine. Living lives that are both similar to and totally different from our own.
Whoa, that's a mind-blowing thought. Would we even want to meet those other versions of ourselves? Would we recognize them?
It all comes back to, like,
Yeah.
what makes us who we are, you know? Are we just our experiences, our choices? Or is there something deeper that goes beyond time and space?
Big questions, man. Philosophers have been debating that stuff forever, but now with sci-fi, we can explore it in a whole new way.
For sure. And let's not forget, it can just be plain fun, too. This story could have humor, romance, action, suspense, all mixed up with mind-bending concepts.
Yeah, it's got all the ingredients for a hit story, something that could work in any format. I'd definitely watch or read or listen to this, no matter how they tell it.
Me too. It's awesome to see these franchises, Back to the Future and Sliders, still inspiring such cool, ambitious ideas after all these years.
It shows that good storytelling with imagination, heart, and something to think about never gets old.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question, listeners. If you had to choose, would you rather travel through time or slide between parallel universes?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, time travel, you could see historical events firsthand, fix past mistakes, maybe even peek into the future. But parallel universes, that's like infinite possibilities, different versions of yourself, maybe even a world where pineapple on pizza is like universally loved.
Yeah, that's a world I could get behind.
Yeah.
But really think about it. What's more important to you? Understanding the past or exploring all those what-ifs, all those other realities?
No easy answers there.
Yeah.
It depends on what you value, what sparks your imagination.
Exactly. So, listeners, let us know what you'd choose and why. Head over to our social media. Share your thoughts. We might even feature some of them in a future episode.
And hey, maybe this deep dive has got you thinking about your own stories, your own projects. If so, go for it. There are no limits, just like in the multiverse itself.
Well said.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this deep dive. Keep those imaginations running wild, and we'll catch you next time for another adventure into the world of ideas.